name is Caroline Vane. I am 25 years old. I'm living in Los Angeles, California, and you are watching the first episode of Unrelatable, a podcast that I've been working on for the last 2 years, give or take. And I just wanted to jump in here before you start this journey with me and say, first of all, thank you. And second of all, looking back on this first intro episode, a lot of emotions come up for me as someone that was on the other side of this. It is a different version of me, but it's someone that I'm so proud of, and I'm so excited for you to come along with me. Okay, enjoy. I'm gonna stop being annoying now.
Should I just fucking hit it? Okay. Yeah, call action. I'm sitting on my bed in my bedroom in the middle of Los Angeles, and I am about to talk a little bit about myself. I don't have a massive ego, but I also don't not have an ego. And I think something that makes all of us who we are is trying to find the things that are different about us. Something about me is I love decorating. I'm obsessed with putting art on every single wall and making my space feel as much of myself as it possibly can be. So I thought I should probably start this whole thing off in my space. And what better space than my bedroom, where I tend to spend all of my time. I take a lot of afternoon naps. I like to eat a lot of Postmates in this bed. But one of the things about my space is that it makes me feel really comfortable, and I curate it so perfectly so that every day I come in here after work or wake up in the morning and I'm like, all I want to do is just sit in this room and freaking melt into this bed. And I feel really content, and I feel like I've created such a comfortable space for me to be myself. But this bedroom has not always been my bedroom. This was my old roommate's bedroom, who I wanted to be as far away from as possible, and I shacked up in the back house, which was my former bedroom. It also felt very me, and every wall had art on it, and the lighting was curated, and everything about it felt very Caroline. However, I went through an extremely traumatic experience while living in that bedroom that pushed me to want a change that I've created. And this bedroom is the reshaping of me, and it's felt really good. And I've been in this room almost a year now. So I'm excited to tell you a little bit about why I decided to switch bedrooms. I mean, there is a lot that goes into reshaping as a person, and I don't think any 24-year-old girl could proudly or confidently say that, most of us don't have to go through a life-altering illness by the age of 24, and I sure as fucking hell did not think I would be one of them, especially because I am a class act, hypochondriac, anxiety, OCD ball of stress. And it's never the person that freaks out about a cut or a broken fingernail that ends up diagnosing themselves with cancer. But I did. And I think without that experience, I still would have been different and had my own things about me that I spent 22 years of life working at, and confidently can say that my whole entire life up to that point was really successful in doing that. It could be something like, I want to have clothes that no one has, or I want my computer skin to be different because I want things that appear different, because I don't want to just be this blonde girl that fits into this crowd of other blonde girls that come from the same place and have the same family and have the same likes and dislikes and the same drama and the same blah, blah, blah. I always felt like I wanted to have things about me that felt different. But of course I had the things. I wanted the same chapstick as everyone. I wanted the same hair stuff as everyone. I wanted the same Dyson. I wanted all the things that all the other girls had so that I could feel like I was a part of that. but I also had things about me that felt very original. It was definitely shocking, to say the least, to get a diagnosis right after graduating from college, basically saying, haha, you spent this whole time working at this thing and you wanted to be different and you wanted to find things about you that made you different. But now you're going to have to regress. And now you're going to have to go through a period of time where you are going to have to connect with people. You are going to have to find that connection within your friendships and weed out the bad ones, keep the good ones. Really kind of understand that family and friends and connection at the end of the day is the only thing that matters when you don't even know who you are. And this could look like a trendy haircut. It is, but it's also a year's worth of hair growth, that my long, beautiful hair fell out and I had to kind of figure out who the fuck I was again. And yeah, I mean, that is something that is extremely unrelatable, but there's aspects of it that I think every young girl goes through this period, hopefully, of reshaping and trying to figure out where they fit in the world. I just want to start out by saying I went as far as creating a brand to make that unrelatable statement come to life. I was 15 and a half. I was really freaking bored with my life. I had this monotonous cycle of wake up at 6:30, try to make myself a little bit presentable because I was insanely self-conscious, got my uniform on, maybe threw on a pair of shoes I wasn't allowed to wear or a sweatshirt that no one had, got in the car with my carpool who I had a kind of love-hate relationship with. We had really uninteresting small talk. I tried to be her friend and she didn't really even like me that much. And then we got to school. I had the same day of trying to like fit in. And then I would end up going to the art room or sit in the hallway and listen to music or go sit at a table of people that I just like could not connect with. And then I'd go to class, hate my life, get picked up, maybe take a 2-hour nap, have dinner, do my homework. And then I'd go to bed and do it all over again until the weekend came and I hung out with the, Santa Monica kids or the whoever kids I was hanging out with at the time, just making poor choices and just, again, trying to fit in. And around this time, I really kind of felt connected to this interest I had in graphic art, which at the time was the lesson we had in our art class. We were given these like little boards and the teacher was like, okay, go trace so-and-so or, take this board and, just scribble and it'll come up on your computer screen. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool, whatever. I'm just trying to get the grade and be done with this thing. And I want to get out of the school. I hate it. But I was like, maybe this is actually kind of cool. So I did a drawing of Twiggy, who's obviously like a very famous model from whatever, I don't even know, the 50s, fell in love with it. And simultaneously, I'm like going home watching these documentaries. Before it was like a mainstream thing you'd see on YouTube and TikTok, which wasn't even a thing. And I sound like I'm 75 years old, but I'm 24. I'm not. And at that point, it was like, okay, this is fun. I kind of want to start like utilizing this new thing that I've learned how to do, which is make graphic art. And I started doing it. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's put this out into the world. Maybe people will actually enjoy it. But let's do it in a way where my face is not attached to it. And I came up with this name, Blonde Standard, which essentially the meaning behind it is I look and talk and seem at first glance like any other girl you could picture in LA. Maybe you could be intimidated. Maybe you could be like, she looks like a fucking joke. Maybe you want to be my friend. Who knows what your first reaction is of who I am? But regardless, I really fit in with that crowd. I looked like another fish in the pond when I'd go to school every morning, regardless of the fact that I wore these different shoes or did my hair differently or had a different sweatshirt on. I still had these things that made me very similar to these other girls. And there was nothing I could do about that. But what I could do about that was really accentuate my interests in a way that would make me stand alone and would make me original. And I started putting it out online and people started liking it. And that was kind of the thing that really drove me to a point of being like, okay, cool. Let's find like-minded individuals. You're not alone in this. People enjoy this. And people found it even more intriguing when I would pair this artwork with photos of myself, because what fucking 16-year-old blonde girl in LA has an obsession with crime and serial killers who's wearing pink and talking about whatever musician she's in love with at the time and, hyperfixating on boy bands and blah, 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 but also drawing these horrendous criminals alongside these really pretty happy colors. That was me at 16, and I continued that track, and I continued finding things and people that really kind of made me feel like, okay, I'm not just in this pack of sardines. I'm me. I'm Caroline. I can do these things that make me different. And all of that changed when I'm sitting on my couch. It's a regular weeknight. I basically found this bump above my collarbone, and this is a regular occurrence for me of me texting my mom or my dad. I'm scared about a spider bite or a mosquito bite or cutting myself. And I go into this spiral. I'm on Google. I'm on WebMD. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And I'm getting these texts back being like, you're fine. Like, go back to watching your show. And this time felt different because when I felt that bump, I looked it up, and the first thing that came up was that is cancer. And there was kind of no other explanation for what that was. But, it was WebMD will tell you if you have a cut, you're whatever. You're going to turn blue and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, maybe it's just another one of my freakouts. I had my dad kind of like take me off a ledge over his text. He said he'd come by after his event. And at that point, I was just like, it's fine. And then a few days later, I was with my neighbor and we were watching some show, and I bit into an Erewhon brownie, which had mold on it. And immediately I was like, oh my gosh, I basically just ingested what felt like poison. I'm literally just killed myself basically by biting into this Erewhon brownie that had a little bit of mold on it. Oh my fucking God, I'm screwed. So instead of like calling poison control, I like text my doctor who I have on like speed dial at this point. I'm like, I bit into this brownie. Oh my gosh, what do I do? And also I have this like weird muscle situation above my collarbone. I feel like maybe I could also like just mention that to you. Like maybe I can come in and talk to you about it. She was like, the brownie's fine. You're going to be cool. Sometimes it's actually good to ingest mold in a weird, fucked up way. With the bump thing, maybe you can come in and we'll like just check that out. So I tell my boss, I'm going to be a little bit late. I'm going to the doctor. I'll come in at 2. Was not going to go into work that day. So I basically went to her and she felt it. And she said, that doesn't feel like lymphoma because it's movable and it's soft and, it's a lymph node. And I just remember my vision going black, but I was still present. And I was just like, it's just another one of those things. It's just another one of those things. It's okay. And that same day, I ended up calling my dad. The piece of paper that she wrote on it said supraclavicular lymph node. I looked it up, and what do you know? The same shit comes up on Google. It literally says that it is cancer. And I was like, oh my God, it's not a cut that I'm freaking out about. Maybe this is actually a real thing, but like, let's calm ourselves down. You're getting yourself into a frenzy again. So long story short, this day becomes a very, very long day. I end up going to my ENT, who then says, okay, that's a lymph node. Let me get you next door. Maybe it's an infection. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. So I go next door. Thanks be to God, these people took me in that day. And I'm very thankful for that because, the healthcare system in this country is not as good as, many people think it is until they're faced with a situation, which is extremely unfortunate. And without my healthcare team and without the position I was in, I probably wouldn't have been seen as quickly as I was. I wouldn't have been able to be in the position that I am in now. I met a lot of people along the way that were not as lucky and had to wait, and their situations and conditions got way worse than they had to. So I went into this imaging center. I have never been in an imaging center. I've gotten maybe 3 x-rays when I broke my wrist as a kid. They're like, okay, let's take a chest x-ray. I'm like, why the fuck are we doing a chest x-ray? I have a little tiny bump up here. You can barely see it. You can barely feel it. This feels so wrong and out of body and out of place. My little brother and my dad are there with me. And I want to go home and I want to go back to work. And all I'm thinking in my head is, what the actual fuck is happening? Because all of these doctors just know it doesn't seem like it is a cold. It seems like this is a thing that we need to go through all of these steps to figure out what is going on. And someone that like me, that's very like boom, boom, boom. I need to get stuff done. I want to, I like to make plans and I like to show up on time. I'm like, I have to sit here and wait for every single thing to happen and come my way and figure out what the fuck is going on. And it's not an instantaneous thing. And none of this is an instantaneous thing. And that's what makes it really hard, is having to step away from control. And I'm a control freak. And the biggest thing that I've learned over the last 2 years is I am not in control of everything. And none of us are in control of everything. We're in control of our bodies and ourselves, but we're not in control of what the fuck happens. Long story short, I end up going through weeks of testing and going into a CT machine like they do in the movies with the tube, and you're in there and it sounds like you're in a fucking spa. You're not in a spa, you're in a tube that's basically taking a million pictures of you. You know, there's something wrong. What's wrong, basically? My blood work came back weird, and I all the while am like trying to be a normal 22-year-old. I've just graduated from college. I just started this new job. I want to be me. I want to take all of the work that I've spent these last 22 years and like really put it into action and get out there in the world. And I get a needle biopsy, which was probably one of the single-handedly most painful things I've ever done, where this completely unemotional woman basically stabs your neck with a like huge needle. And she has no emotion. They give me like a fucking orange to squeeze and a lollipop like I'm 5. They ask me all these questions. It sucks. And I go home and then I just have to wait. I just have to wait. And I get a call from my dad at work the next day, and he goes, I'm just going to tell you, there's 2 things this could be. Actually, there's a million things this could be. We've singled and ruled out the worst, your biggest fears. We've ruled those things out. This could be the best case scenario, which is 99.999 per half of these doctors that told me this, nothing. And 0.00001%, this could be something, but it's something that people have a better understanding of how to deal with. And I'm sitting there at the office and I'm like, oh, fuck it. My luck, like it's going to be the worst case scenario. And that's just where my mind has been going my whole life. And anyways, go back to my day, figure it out, try to get it out of my head. And I am doing like a fitting the next morning. I had just gotten all these new clothes because I've been really working on myself and working out and trying to feel healthy and fit and really work on myself post-college. And I'm working on all my friendships. And I have this like really crazy fucked up situation with my best friend at the time, who, by the way, is a whole other story, but fucking sucks. And was like, really getting away from that toxic friendship and just rebranding me. And I'm trying all these jeans on, which is like the worst thing ever in itself. And I'm sitting there and I get a phone call from my mom, and she goes, the results came back from the needle biopsy. It is suspicious for Hodgkin's lymphoma. This is going to be a journey, but we will get through it together. And again, my vision went spotty, and Sonia was there with me, who is the stylist, and I have jeans half on and I have to like sit down and collect myself. And my mom's like, I'm getting on a plane right now and your dad's driving over to the house right now. And then Sonia leaves, my dad comes in and sits down, and I was weirdly calm and just knew and understood that I was in good hands, and that, there's nothing that I could do in that moment, which my whole life I've been such a nervous wreck. And in that one moment, I was so collected. I basically had a moment where I was in 2 places at once. I was in one place where I was kind of looking back at my college experience. I didn't join a sorority. I kind of made friends with people all over the place. All I cared about was trying to do different things and trying to stand out and try to be myself and be original. And I was thinking, was this worth it for me? Was it worth like doing the things and going against the grain and trying to be original, when in this moment all I wanted was people, and I wanted love, and I wanted to feel like every part of me was being validated in that moment. So at this point in my life, I had almost not completely isolated myself, but most of the people that I was close to at that time were not really in my life for the right reasons. And the good people and the people that I did feel the closest to, I'd almost pushed away in this quest to really stand out and be, this unrelatable individual. And the fear I had at this moment was, am I going to isolate myself even more going through this? And I didn't even fully know what the situation was. I just knew that I was about to go through something. And getting a call from your mom saying we're going to go through a journey, I was like, what journey? What are you talking about? I'm trying these clothes on. I'm ready to go out in these outfits. I want to go back to work. I have shit to do. And I am literally throwing everything, just putting it all on the side to focus on me right now and to get to the light at the end of the tunnel, which people kept referring to. And I didn't know what any of this meant. I didn't understand what I was about to face. And everyone else on Instagram and on Snapchat and looking at all these people's stories that night, going out to parties and hanging out with their friend groups and, all posting on LinkedIn about all these amazing jobs they had and moving across the country, going to New York, doing all these things that I was like, should I have done that? Or, should I have been a drinker in college? Or should I have tried the drugs? Or should I have gone to the music festival and gotten way too high? I did do that once. But there were things that I was like, should I have done those things? Did I screw up? Am I in a position right now where I don't have the option to do those things anymore? I had no idea what I was about to face, and I looked back on everything and I did not know how to feel about it. I was proud of myself because I went to therapy every week and I sat and I talked about all the things that I was doing wrong and the things that I could have done better and really able to recognize who I was and looking inward. But that was one thing. There were things that I couldn't go back and do. I couldn't rerun high school. I couldn't pretend to be part of the popular group or tried to go buy the clothes everyone bought to try to be friends with everyone or, go out every weekend with these girls at my school or go be in the sorority and live in the house. And I'd never felt connected to doing those things. It never felt me. And I always felt like I was being fake. And those times that I did try to do those things, I always ended up in shitty situations because I would be someone I wasn't. But anyways, I'm at this point where I basically have to go get a PET scan. It's the same tube, but it's just longer. And it kind of all feels like a blur. I don't fully remember all of it. But what I do know is that same day my dad came to talk to me, I got to go meet with oncologists, which are cancer doctors. And I still didn't understand what any of this meant. And yeah, I didn't tell my best friend at the time because I was so disconnected from that friendship at this point and so ready to move forward and find good people that she didn't even know what I was going through. I just knew that I had myself, I had my family, I had my boyfriend, and I was just kind of ready to take on whatever I had to. In that moment, I did not have people, I had friends, I had good friends, but I had distanced myself to a point where I just did not have someone on speed dial that I could just go call and say, holy shit, let me loop in all these freaking friends and let's just talk about it. How do you feel right now? I had my therapist and she was like, holy shit, I can't believe that this ball of anxiety, hypochondriac, OCD girl is actually right about the thing that she's been worried about for years. But long story short, I get to go meet with these doctors. We have these conversations. They basically are like, okay, you're going to lose your hair. I just completely felt like there was an alien in my body and I couldn't run away from it. And I had to walk around with myself and I had to face the fact that there was nothing I could do except for show up. And I did. And I picked a doctor and I started going to treatments and I got a port placed in my arm, which I have a scar from. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a scar on my arm that will never go away. And I am very proud of it. But yeah, I had to get a literal tiny robot put in my arm that had a string that went all the way up to my heart that pushed chemicals into my bloodstream to save my life at 22 years old. And holy fucking shit, I even feel weird talking about it because I'm like, don't feel bad for me. Like, this is weird. I don't even know how to feel about talking about it. It feels like it didn't happen when I talk about it sometimes. But I also know it did because I wouldn't be this version of myself if I hadn't gone through it. And I think a big piece of that was the part where by the end of all of it, and I look back at photos of myself and I'm like, holy crap. I was like, you know, I have already had these body dysmorphia issues, but I was like, even, I weighed like, 40 or 50 pounds heavier than I am now. I had like no hair on my head. But the one thing that I noticed is in every photo of myself in that time, I felt exactly like the girl that had just been diagnosed. I'm just getting emotional. This is not something that's easy to talk about because even though I'm this like super confident, outgoing girl, I have spent years trying to figure out who this person is and how she can be different and how she can make an impact on the world. And with that, it's important to know that this shit happens and you can cry and you can be emotional. So I will use this toilet paper and continue talking. But the thing is that's important is the people that were really able to be the rock, and community is everything. And the thing that I noticed during this process of going through an illness is I had people, if I was not as anal as I am, and if I was not on that couch that night touching my collarbones, like, why are your hands up here? Like, what are you doing? No one else is doing that my age. And if you are, congratulations, you're on top of it because you're aware of what's happening up here. The likelihood of you having cancer, though, is very, very, very low. Without that and without the piece of myself that was this ball of anxiety, I wouldn't have figured that out. And so I am very thankful for like who I am because without that and without the OCD that sent me to therapy when I was 17 or the hypochondria that like annoyed half of my friends when like I was like, ooh, this Postmates bag is ripped, I'm freaked out, whatever, just like complete bullshit thing that was coming out of my mouth. That is what actually saved my life at the end of the day. I had, I have an incredible medical team and I still have to go for checkups, but it was those awarenesses and the person that I was kind of embarrassed to share with everyone that really was the thing that helped me at the end of the day. And I basically don't know why my voice just cracked, but I found this community of other young women that were going through the same exact thing. And they were meeting on Zoom every week, and kids that went to my college that had gotten the same thing as me. And just boys and girls that were from the ages of 15 years old to 35 years old that were completely normal people that had their lives completely changed because of something that was unavoidable. And I realized that the community that I had built during that time were people that were not only going to be lifelong friends of mine, but was the thing that got me through it. And laughing with my friends and crying with my friends and being like, I cannot believe I'm talking to this person right now for 3 hours about what the fuck. I just pulled half of my hair out with one slight movement. That is the craziest thing ever. After spending years of my life being concerned about, I need to get that thing from Revolve that everyone has, or I need to make sure that I have the curtain bangs that everyone has, or, I need to have the Charlotte Tilbury lip stuff. Okay, all that stuff's amazing and I'm still here for it and I love it. But that didn't matter in that moment. I didn't even fit into the clothes anymore. And the lip stuff kind of looked like shit on me at that point in time. And I had no hair to Dyson. I had no curtain bangs. I finally got my freaking curtain bangs back. But the thing that was so helpful for me was being able to call my friend and say, can we just freaking laugh in denial about this crazy situation we're going through right now? And I still call those people. And of course, there's going to be times where friends are over here doing their thing and you're over here doing your thing. And my life has changed. I started working a 9 to 5 job about 6 months after I went through all of this, and found a community at work, and then started finding people that I felt really comfortable with, and started writing and working on projects, and really realizing that I have a true passion for music supervision and production, and I want to be in the entertainment industry. And all of these things that really kind of pulled me out of the cancer community. But that community will always be a piece of me, and those people will always be there. And being able to find these different communities of people all over the place is what keeps me going every day. And I wake up in the same bedroom with the same art on the wall, and I've curated it exactly how I like it, with my pink lights and my good smelling candles and my 75 perfumes. But, being able to differentiate the fact that I have a place that makes me feel comfortable, and knowing that those people also remind me of my room. They also remind me of my house and my safe space, because I can go call my friend Paige, who I sat on the phone with for hours laughing and crying with, and I feel just as at home than how I feel when I'm in my bed watching my stupid crime documentaries. And that is what really helped me find my sense of self, was other people. And I feel like I took that Caroline crazy medical crazy situation and this girl now who I am, and it's the more adult version. And I thought I had it all figured out at 22 years old. I thought I was an expert on myself and my emotions, and I can talk about boundaries and feelings, and I have all of these standards for dating, and I have all these things that I need to do and figure out. But I didn't know anything. And the reason I didn't know anything is because I didn't have these lessons that I'm taking from these friendships and these other people in my life and implementing them into my own. I think a big piece of that was that I grew up wanting to be the unrelatable, the one of one, there's no other Caroline Grace Vane, I'm the only one. I have so many things in common with other people, and I've realized that even something like TikTok has become such a big community of people that share so many of the same interests. I'm completely dumbfounded when I watch a video and I see it has 1 million likes and all the comments, tens of thousands of people that relate so hard. And I'm like, I can't believe these people are thinking exactly what I'm thinking. It's crazy to see how important community is, and how that is such a big piece of, we need to relate to one another. We need to feel connected, and not just individuals, but, it is so important to be able to use our own experiences, like what I went through. And, I have friends that are never going to be able to relate to what I went through, but without me and without the experiences I've had and can share with them, they might not learn things about themselves. I looked at you and I started crying. Oh my God. I think going through cancer was the first real moment in my life where I realized that I can use these experiences to connect with other people. And I feel like I'm kind of creating my own home, my own bedroom full of people that feel like home. The same way that I feel like when I walk into my house after a long day of work, you feel this your guard's down, and you feel this sense of this is my family. These are my people. I still will always be me. I still will always be, different. And we all are different. And I think if we were all the same, it would be really, first of all, really fucking boring. And second of all, there would be no room for new ideas and new thoughts and new feelings and new stories. I have been faced with the feeling of feeling alone many, many times. And I'm sure many people do. For one, every single time I PMS, I have a moment of being I feel so alone right now. I'm so emotional. And then there's real times where you're sitting there and your dad's sitting across from you because you just got diagnosed with cancer and you don't feel like you have anyone to go to. Sometimes they're real, sometimes they're in their head, but either way, it feels real. And that's the realness of the loneliness behind it. And I think that realization and that connection that I've found through all of this has really given me the opportunity and the strength to want to share that with other people. And I didn't even realize how many of the people that I'm friends with that are hypochondriacs until I talked about it, or how many people like are really interested in psychology until we talked about it, until I felt that connection. And it's important to just kind of feel like you can open up to people. I mean, the right people, of course, but a non-judgment zone where you can be you. Should I leave on my scarf? So cute. Yeah, a scarf of tears. Okay. Anyways, I am sitting in a room that I freaking love more than anything. The only thing that like is the most pacifying feeling ever is like getting in my bed with 75 pillows and just laying there and like just going on my phone watching YouTube videos. But of course I still feel alone in this room. And of course that sucks. And of course sometimes I just feel like crying. But that's also part of being human. And that's allowed. That is totally okay. I don't know how many people that are listening to this, if it's one person or 10 people or whoever, I don't know. If I know you, here's an introduction to more of me. If we barely know each other, then here's a little bit more information. And if I don't know you and we're complete strangers, nice to meet you. My name is Caroline Vane. You know a little bit more about me. I want to know more about you. And I want to keep talking my ass off until I feel like I've gotten every last word out. And I really can't even begin to appreciate how much it means to me to know that people are listening. I have a lot more to say, and this is barely scratching the surface, whether it's my story or someone else's story, or we're not even telling a story. We are chatting and we're just talking about stuff. There's a lot more that needs to be said. And I appreciate you sticking around for the first piece of that puzzle. And I hope to see your beautiful face soon. And if you're not beautiful, you're beautiful on the inside. Just embrace that. Bye.
Bad date, can't relate.